Good morning, students. The final topic in this chapter is oil fire and then crisis in the power sector. Okay, oil fire and both crisis in the power sector, usually it is man-made. So oil fire is a place where we drill oil. We use petrol for the fuel. So where do we drill oil from? From under the ground, either in the sea or in coastal areas, or even on the normal ground. We use drilling machines to put a hole in the ground and then get the oil. So what will happen sometimes when fire comes in contact with this oil, it causes the fire to burn. So this is usually because of human action. That is, sometimes people do it by accident. Suppose somebody is smoking a cigarette or some fire falls on it, or sometimes people do it, terrorists go and open the fire well and cause burns, or they put a bomb. Sometimes because of lightning the fire can start. So some of the fires are very small, but some are very large. Even 3 days back in Assam, 1 week back in Assam, the fire in a oil well started. Sometimes during the Iraq war, Kuwait war, there were a lot of fires when the terrorists actually attacked the oil pipeline or the oil drilling areas. So these are oil fires. So the oil fires are very dangerous because the oil is highly combustible, that it can burn very quickly and very dangerously. So, and it will cause a lot of damage. Sometimes even explosion can occur. So millions of barrels of oil is taken out every day. So when the oil is burning, all those barrels of oil get burnt, and it is a lot of damage to the environment and to the ecological system. So in Kuwait in 1991, when there was a war, there was a lot of oil fires. And when the oil burns, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, benzopyrene, and all these gases are emitted. These are highly dangerous, and they can even cause death when a person inhales the gas. So it is a very dangerous disaster that can happen. So there are some ways in which you can overcome the oil fire. The cause of oil fire is either lightning, man-made, or terrorist attacks. The impact we have studied. Now we'll see how to overcome the oil fire. As I said, the oil fire can burn with very great intensity and very great speed. So it is not easy to put out the oil fire like other fires. We have to use large amounts of water. Usually seawater is pumped and it is poured on the oil fire area. And if it's not a very big fire, then it can be put out with seawater. But sometimes if the oil fire is bigger than that, then they use a turbine to blast water at the base of the fire, and that will help in putting out the fire. Sometimes they use dynamite to blow out the well. So what happens is, when you cause an explosion in the fire, what happens is suddenly there will be no oxygen in the area, because all the oxygen has been sucked by the explosion. So because there is no oxygen, the fire will stop. Then sometimes the chemical called purple K has been used on small well fires. So when this chemical is put over the fire, it will stop. In the 1930s, the companies which were involved in putting out fires, they developed mechanical jaws. That is, they were like metal machines that could go and clamp the fire. That is, the place where the fire is burning, they will close the supply. So immediately the fire will be put off. Then people use robots and bulldozer type of machines that are usually, because humans cannot go near the fire because of the high temperature. These robots and machines are remotely controlled, and they go and put out the fire. Sometimes they raise the plume, that is, a metal casing is kept over the fire. So, and then liquid nitrogen is poured into this, so that this goes to over the fire, and oxygen is prevented from entering the fire area. And when there is no oxygen, the fire will be stopped. Sometimes what people do is, to put out the oil fire, a parallel well is dug. That is, parallel to the fire area, they dig underground this thing, so that some of the oil can come this side, and the actual oil well, there will be less oil and it can be easily put off. Sometimes nuclear explosions, that is when the fire is too big, nuclear explosions are triggered. This will successfully put out the fire. So this is about oil fires. Then we come to crisis in the power sector. What is power sector? See, there are generation of power. How is power generated? We have turbines in the hydroelectric power, that is in dams. When the water is flowing, electricity is generated. So this generated electricity is stored in the electric through transformer. It is converted into electricity that can be supplied to the people. So it's called the grid system. It is called the grid system. Okay, so there are different grids in India and they supply electricity all over the country. So when this grid system or the hydroelectric power supply is damaged, it can cause power outage or blackout or loss of current in many parts of the country. So then what will happen if there is no power, no electricity? Your computers will stop, hospitals will stop functioning because they will not have enough power, and cell phone towers will stop functioning. So all these major things can happen. Of course they can have generators, but they will run out very soon. Fuel cannot be used forever. So the safety of the power sector is very important, and if there is damage to the power generation in hydroelectric power areas or in the grid system, it can be due to natural causes like earthquakes, floods, cloudbursts, tsunami, cyclone and hurricane. It can also be due to man-made reasons like terrorist threat, attack, bomb blast, strike, fire and cyber attack. Okay, let's see what happens when this crisis can occur. Okay, crisis is a time of acute danger. Just like in human illnesses, we say acute illness and chronic illness. So crisis means it is an acute problem. Suddenly there is a danger or disruption in the power supply. This can be caused mainly because of human error, or it could be caused because of natural disasters or by terrorists. So power is one thing that is very important to run the country. If you do not have electricity, you will not be able to function properly. If one day they cut the current in your house, how it is difficult for you. Same way, if the whole country has power cut because of some natural disaster, then the whole country will not be able to function. It will be very difficult for us to live. So when the power gets cut, it becomes a crisis. So let us see how the natural calamities cause power crisis. Tsunami, flood, cyclone are all water related. So when this water floods the power, so what will happen is the power cannot be supplied. If in Chennai, when the floods were happening, what happened was, because the water was present all over the place, the government had to cut the power supply. Because live wires will be in the water, it can cause electrocution of people and people will die. So whenever there is flood or cyclone, the government has to prevent power supply from being sent till the whole thing is safe. Till the cyclone is passed or the flood has receded, they will not give power. So that is one aspect. The other aspect is when there is earthquake and sudden change in the climate, like wind is blowing suddenly, what will happen is the power lines, they'll all fall down. Sometimes huge power lines, they can fall down. Then it will disrupt the whole electricity to a city or a whole state. So this is very important to be prevented and immediately acted upon, so that power supply is restored to the people and also to the industries and hospitals and other areas. So there are also man-made crisis situations like terrorist attacks. What terrorists will do is sometimes they go to the power supply area and damage it, so that the whole city will be having blackout or current cut. Then sometimes bomb blast, substations or generating stations. In our country, most of the hydroelectric projects, which are dams where water is used to create electricity, you cannot even enter and you cannot take a photograph, because the government has made it mandatory that nobody should take photographs, because that can cause terrorist attacks. In case you take a photograph, the people who are there, the army or the police people, will remove your camera. So that is the way in which we are protecting the places of power generation from bomb threats. But instead, sometimes people who are working in the power sector, they can go on a strike. If they go on a strike, what will happen? Nobody will be there to work, and then the power supply and the power generation will be disrupted. Sometimes fire accidents can happen. This can also lead to lot of damage, and these days everything is controlled by computers. So if a hacker gets into the computer system, then it can lead to cyber attack. That is, they will get control of the power supply, and they can even disrupt the power supply. So that is cyber attack. So these are all man-made crisis situations. So we have seen both natural as well as man-made crisis situations for the power crisis. Let us see how we can overcome this. The structure of the disaster management plan for is under the state and the central government. We already saw central government has authority and the state government has authority. So based on the type of damage, these agencies will get involved. There are three important responses that need to be done. One is the operational response. That is, whenever there is a power cut, the immediate action is to overcome the power cut and restore the normal power supply to the people. The next is provide resources, that is manpower, people to repair and restore the power, okay, so that the problem is resolved. Then finally, communication to all the employees as well as people and media to tell what happened and why the power was cut and how it has been restored. So before the disaster, there are some actions that are taken by the government to prevent the disaster. One is public awareness campaigns are created so that people living in a particular area, like power generation, the dam area, and also in the power grid area, they know the risk of the power. All of us know that if you touch a electric wire, you will get a shock. If the current is too high, then you will die. So this awareness is created in the public. Then the government and the power department also supplies pamphlets and notes which tell the do's and don'ts, what you should do in case of a cyclone, what you should do in case of a flood. Do not switch on the equipments in your house if there is a flood, because it can cause live wire and can cause shock. So things like that they tell the public. Then they also put permanent notice boards. If you see near a transformer, you will see that it says it is danger and how much voltage is there. Even in the railway tracks, you will see danger and how much voltage is there. So when they can do that for a less voltage, you can imagine how much protection the government will take when the whole power generation system is in risk. Then the people on the government also take help from the voluntary agencies and also from the educational institutes, so that awareness is created, because students are the main people. If awareness is created with them, then they will be able to tell all the other people. Then the emergency management group or EMG is present, and that is a group of people. They are put on high alert so that they are aware of the problems and the risks. So before advanced preparedness, what are the things that needs to be done? A plan, a well documented emergency plan has to be kept ready. So that will help the people to know what to do in what situation. Suppose a cyclone comes, what to do. Suppose a terrorist attack happens, what to do. So it is a plan of how to do and what to do. Then the preparation is also based on the data on availability of resources. So whatever resources are there, they keep it ready. That is, how much things are available, where it is available, all this are noted down by the people. Then they also identify the key people. Whoever has got responsibility and authority, those people are given responsibility to do certain things. Like some people are told to restore the power, other people are given responsibility to maintain the existing supply, and some people are told to repair whatever damage has been done. Like that, resources and key personnel are identified. Then budget allocation, the money is very important. Without money you cannot do any work, so money is allocated by the government to for these emergencies. Then delegation of power, if one person has the power, then one person cannot do much, so each people in different areas and different responsibilities are given power to do their work. Then all this has to work together to restore power, to make sure that adequate response is there for the after the disaster. So post disaster response and recovery stage, that is after the disaster, what happens? The first thing is the power system stability. In your house, if there is a voltage fluctuation, what happens? The TV will get repaired, the fridge will get repaired. That is why you use stabilizers. So the power system needs to be stabilized. If there is any fluctuation in the power system, the whole power grid can collapse. So the first thing after a disaster the people involved do is they maintain stability in the system. Then they do emergency restoration system, that is emergency services like hospitals, police, army, their power is restored. And then the general public system is restored, and by the time they deploy the emergency restoration gang, that is people who are involved in the restoration process, that is they go and check road by road whether the trees have fallen, whether the electrical lines have fallen, if there is any cut, then they repair everything, and then they restore the power supply. So this is the step by step process in which they restore power to all the areas. And there is an officer who will communicate, like a public relations officer, who will tell the general public about the situation and what they should do, what they should not do. And they will also coordinate with other agencies, like if there are forest department and flood control department, national disaster management authority, all these people will coordinate to find out the best possible solution to overcome the disaster. Then there is the constitution of the disaster management group. Like we said, the state level disaster management, the people who are part of this group are the principal secretary or the secretary. He is an IAS officer who works under the power minister. So he is in charge of this group. And then all the distribution companies, like we have Tangenco, Tamil Nadu power generation and distribution company, that's called Tangenco. Then there are private companies like Adani Power, Reliance Power. So these companies, so all the heads work together to find the possible solution. Then because the disasters can also cause a lot of injury and death, people who are involved in health and welfare agencies, they are also part of this group. Then usually power supply means there is a risk of fire, so the chief fire safety officer and the police personnel, they all form the part of this state level disaster management group. And the responsibilities of these people is to ensure there is adequate resources for restoration of power supply, that disaster management plans are in place, enough money is available to overcome all the problems, and between the various departments, if there is enough communication, information, and they will also assess the damage that has been done so that it can be rectified. Then this is the state level. Then at the plant level, that is at the local level, there is a emergency management group, also called the EMG. So they are in charge of the installation of the power. So they have to reinstall the damage that has been done. They have to overcome it and correct it. Then each plant will have a plant safety manager who checks all the areas, and only when he tells that everything is safe, they will restore the power supply. Then the chief plant operation administration. So there is an administrator, and he and the district administrator, usually the collector or the representative of the collector, they work together at the district level so that the local power supply is restored. So these responsibilities of these people is to ensure that all the areas that are damaged are given priority, and which areas like hospitals and police areas, they are given priority over the other areas. Then they will ensure that the police and the fire safety people are immediately given authority to go and check and rectify the problems. All the non-essential workers, that is, in case of a disaster, if there is a flooding of the power area, then there will be essential staff, non-essential staff. All the non-essential staff will be taken to a safe area. Then they will set up communication. And whenever there is a disaster, communication is very important. So they will communicate to the people in the other departments about what has happened and how soon it will be rectified, and they will report to the higher authorities, and all the evidences are preserved, so that in case there is an inquiry, anytime whenever there is a natural disaster or man-made disaster, the government will keep an inquiry to find if everything went up as per plan, or if there was a lot of problems, then how to overcome the next time when a disaster comes. So all the documents, they'll have to keep it safely, and they will coordinate with the district administration for the finance, medical, law and order situation. Finally, the EMG or the emergency management group should maintain safety data. So they have to keep data about which place is safe, what are the hazardous material, chemicals which are stored. So all these things they have to have data. Then they will check the major and firefighting equipment. So there are some fires like chemical fires, oil fires. So each fire has to be dealt in a different manner. So they have different firefighting material. So that is kept ready. And whenever there is leakage of gases, for example, in Visakhapatnam we had the gas leakage. So if there's any gas leakage because of disaster, that is taken care of. And emergency control, like there are key people in the police, in the fire safety, first aid, medical, security. So all these are key people. So in the district there are few people who are the most important people. Any disaster they will take action. Like even during coronavirus, the collector personally went around closing the shops, making sure people stayed indoors. Like that, during a power crisis, the key people in the district, they will do the security and other aspects, medical aspects, they will take care of. Then there will be maps. Without a map you won't know which area is having problem, which area is not having problem. These days we have satellite images and other things, computer maps are there. So that is used to see which area has got power supply, which area has not got power supply, how to overcome it, whether there is any hospital in that particular area, and all that they use. Then emergency lights are given to places where they need lights and other equipment. In other than this, mock drills are conducted and training of people is done. So mock drills and training will come in all the disasters in prevention as well as how to take action. So the mock drills will help people to be ready. They know what to do in times of a disaster. So power crisis means all the people involved in the district administration, they will have a mock drill. Suppose suddenly there is a disaster which leads to power loss, what are the things to be done? So they will have a role play. Then all the people involved in the power department, they will also have training on how to do things when there is a disaster. So when all these things are done properly, we can take care of a power crisis and ensure that immediate restoration is done, so that all people get power as early as possible after a disaster. Okay, those days whenever there was a cyclone or flood, it took a long time for people to restore the power. But these days it is easy it has been seen that within a short time the government is able to restore power supply to the people affected by power crisis and loss of electricity.